It's almost time to watch those traditional Christmas classics, the ones you visit every year. Maybe they're A Christmas Story or one of the versions of A Christmas Carol. For me personally, it's going to be time to watch Christmas with the Joker and Holiday Nights, 2 episodes from the 1990s Batman animated series. But if you take a quick look at these 2 episodes, you're going to notice, hey, these versions of Batman and the Joker and everybody else look a lot different from each other. Why is that? Well, it all goes back to the fact that once the original Batman the Animated Series stopped running on Fox Kids, the rights to the show transferred over to Warner Brothers, and so it started to air on Kids WB. And there were 2 years where there were no new episodes of Batman. But with Superman the Animated Series coming on, the creators of that show were asked, hey, can we get some more Batman? And they thought, wait, let's do it, but let's redesign some of these characters so that they can line up more with Superman, and then we can kind of package those shows together. And so that led to a complete redesign of all the characters, and really kind of the whole world of Batman the Animated Series had the same cast, had the same chronology, and the story kind of continued on as much as it did in those episodic shows, but everybody's looking a little bit different. For some characters, this redesign was an upgrade. For some of them, it was a downgrade. Some of them, it's about the same. But who's going to fall on what side of that scale? Let's go ahead and take a look at all the redesigns of the characters from Batman the Animated Series into the new Batman Adventures and see if they're better or worse than they were before. As we're getting into it, hey, why don't you hit that like button if you like videos talking about Batman or any kind of ranking stuff. Do it here all the time, and consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. We're going to start off by talking about the big guy himself, Batman. Now, something you're going to notice really quickly when you just look at all of these redesigns is that everybody is a lot simpler. There's a lot less going on. The color palette is a bit different too. It's not quite as earthy, right? There's a lot less like browns is what you're going to notice. And so you look at Batman here and he's lost a lot of his color, right? His cape no longer has the blue on the back side of it. You don't have those blue highlights anymore either. You've lost the yellow accent around the emblem, and the belt's got a complete redesign. I kind of like the way the belt looks better in the new show, but I like that color on the old one a lot more. This wouldn't be the final redesign of Batman. He'd get another one when Justice League would come out a few years later. But if we're just going to look right here, I definitely think this one is a downgrade. Let's look at Batman's alter ego, Bruce Wayne, next up. Back in the animated series, he always had that brown and yellow suit combo going on. It's iconic, right? It screams 90s. It's a good look. I like his tousled hair. His face has got a lot of expression to it. You look at that redesign, and again, it's all simplified. It's very smooth. He looks boring, if I'm going to be honest with you. And if you just showed me a picture of this drawing, this guy, I don't know if I would be like, yeah, that's Bruce Wayne. Again, this one's going to be a downgrade. Not to say anything about the performances or the writing or anything on the episodes. Just that overall look, I just don't like it quite as much. Then we'll get into Robin, and there's a bit to say here because Robin has actually changed who is portraying him in the show, whereas in the original Batman the Animated Series, Dick Grayson is Robin, but in the new show, it's Tim Drake. But we do get a look at Dick Grayson as Robin in a flashback, so we can compare those. I am glad that his cape keeps the yellow on the underneath part of it, and the change in the shape of his head does make him seem a bit older. There is some time that's passed, obviously. Overall, with this one, I think that there's not enough of a change where I'm going to have a favorite one over the other. But if we jump and take a look at what Tim Drake's Robin suit looks like, I'm definitely going to prefer that over the Dick Grayson one. I like the black sleeves on it. I don't know. I just like Tim Drake also as Robin. He's a lot of fun in this show. Now, if we're comparing the original Robin suit to what Dick Grayson is wearing now when he's fighting crime in the new show, as he's running around as Nightwing, I don't know. I think I might side with the original suit. I don't know. There's something about the Nightwing costume. I love Dick Grayson as a character, but this version of the Nightwing costume with like the long hair and everything, I don't know. It's just not doing it for me. And plus, the way that the mask sits on his face just kind of makes it feel like his nose disappears. For me, not really a fan. However, if we look at Dick Grayson, I definitely think he's had a bit of a glow up, right? Check him out. He's wearing now like a leather jacket and everything, whereas he used to wear like a sweater vest back in the old show. I think his haircut is fine now. It was fine before. It's not much one way or the other. But he definitely looks older, and I think that works for what they were doing with the character. So I'm going to give this one to the new Batman Adventures. When it comes to Batgirl, I think that the new suit is also an improvement. I like that it's black. It looks really cool. I like the yellow on the underside of the cape. She does get to keep the blue accents and everything as well. The darker hair and the darker lipstick also, I think, helped lead to making it seem like she's more of a serious character. Barbara Gordon in this universe is top tier. She's awesome. Speaking of Barbara, on her design, I think I might prefer the new one just a little bit more than the old one, just because of, again, the changes in just the overall design. Her bangs being a little less like chaotic and everything, I don't know, I just like it more. When we get to her dad, though, Commissioner Gordon, man, I don't like this one. Look at Commissioner Gordon in the original show. He looks like he could just help out Batman when it comes to fighting. He's big, broad-shouldered and everything. But you look at him in the new Batman Adventures and the guy just looks real sick and real tired. I love the way this hair does that swoosh in the original show. Now it's just like a flat top. It's boring compared to it. So it's a downgrade. When we move to Alfred, I think it's going to be a downgrade here as well. I don't like his mustache. It's too skinny. The way his hair sits on his head too, it's very flat. It looks very like short. I like how kind of it's poofing off of his head in that original design. And his eyes. The eyes are just missing something in that new design. Again, it probably helped with animation, probably made it easier, simplifying these things, limiting those details. But when it comes to just looking at him, I definitely prefer the original. Harvey Bullock, another one where I'm going to prefer the original. He just gets too simplified. He's leaning too far into like that he's big and round in the redesign. He just like is such a good, gruff looking dude in the original show. I just love him so much. The red tie also, it's better than the black tie. He just looks so much tougher. And I think that that's a good thing for Harvey. When we get to Renee Montoya, her change, it's hard to directly compare because she does have a different role. Like she's been promoted between the two shows. So she's no longer just having to wear a uniform and everything. When I think of her, I think of her from the new Batman Adventures. It's pretty close for me, but I'll give it a little edge over onto it being an improvement. Now, I didn't think that Mayor Hill would be my strongest opinion so far, but it definitely is. Like, look at this redesign. They did him so dirty. This is like worse than when they recast Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle. Not saying Don Cheadle looks bad or anything, but like, this is not the same guy. Like, don't tell me this is the same person, right? There's no way in the world this is supposed to be the same guy. His hairline's different. Look at his nose, dude. Like, there's no way. This is not the same person. This one's obvious. The original is better. It's a downgrade. Don't try to tell me anything different. We've got all the good guys and the supporting cast out of the way. Let's talk about the rogues gallery. Let's start off with the number one, Joker. It's just such a good design with the original show, and you lose a lot with the new Batman Adventures. Why are the lips not red? Why are there no lips? Why are his eyes like not yellow like they used to be anymore? His skin is like kind of bluish also. Like, again, I don't know, man. It just does not feel as good. They do correct it, right? When Joker's showing up in Justice League Unlimited, or even more so, it's perfect in Return of the Joker and Batman Beyond. But in the new Batman Adventures itself, it's just definitely a downgrade. We get to Harley Quinn, and this is another one where there's like no difference. Like, in looking for pictures for this, I'm like, I have to double check to make sure I'm not accidentally grabbing one from the old show when I think it's the new show. She didn't change much, just kind of a little in like the color of her skin and everything, but it's no difference. No opinion, no change. Catwoman is a big change though, and it's kind of a hard call for me as to whether or not I like it more. I do like that it's all black. I do like that she's got like the white eyes. I think that that's cool too. I do not like that her skin is a different color when she puts on the costume and when she has the costume off for like no reason. Like, it's like white, bluish, Joker colored when she's got it on. And when she's just running around without it on, it's not. I think it works better for her being like a cat burglar than like the all gray one with like the big old gloves and everything. And it's so if I'm gonna have to decide one way or the other, I think I'm very slightly gonna go over to the old one. I think I'll say it's a little bit of a downgrade, but just barely. Penguin is another one I'm conflicted on. I love the animated series Penguin. It's very inspired by Danny DeVito, obviously. I think that the version of the character that they're portraying in the cartoon the new design works better for it. He's very fancy, right? He actually looks like somebody who's got money and isn't gross. He's got a haircut. He doesn't have the super long hair like the old one did. Again, a Danny DeVito carryover from Batman Returns. So though I do really like the original one, I can understand the redesign here, and I think it works better for the show. So this one, it can be an improvement. Two-Face is very similar between the two. Like his costume part is identical. Obviously it changes just because they're drawn bodies a little bit different. He's a little more top heavy. He looks buffer. But when it comes to like what he's wearing, it's exactly the same. The face also very, very similar. It's going to come down to like the angles. Do you like, the curves more on the eye, or do you like when they're a little more angular? The hair, same way. Do you like you getting the waves of the hair, or do you like it when it's, kind of choppy and everything? Now, the thing that I think is going to push me over to say that I like the original one just a little bit more than the new one is just the gums and like how bright they are around his like deformed part of his face. It just looks grosser. And I think that Two-Face should look pretty gross when he's showing up. So yeah, I'm going to say it's a little bit of a downgrade. With the Riddler, this one's easy for me. I like having an easy one. This is a downgrade for sure. He doesn't have a mask anymore. I think that's dumb. I miss the suit. He's just got like a bodysuit now with a big old question mark on it. Like the Riddler in the original animated series, his look is awesome. It's so good with the tie, and it just kind of gets thrown away. Now, to be fair, he's not showing up a ton in the new show, so we don't have to look at it that often. But when he does show up, I'm like, ugh, like keep it away, downgrade. Now, Mr. Freeze was classically redone in the animated series, like given a great backstory that he didn't have before. In Heart of Ice, one of the best episodes of the show, one of the best Batman stories, like short form stories ever told. This guy is so good with his goggles and everything. And he doesn't lose too much of the charm when he moves into the new one. Obviously, again, like most people, he's bigger, he's bulkier. I don't know if I really need that with Mr. Freeze, though it does make sense story-wise when you find out that he's just a head on like a robot body. So it's like, oh, okay, that's why he's bigger and everything. I think I like the old one more. I miss the goggles on the new one. It just looks like it's his eyes instead of it being like the big goggles on there and everything. I like the cool like puffy parts on the shoulders and everything. So I'm gonna stay with the original. Say it's a little bit of a downgrade, though I do like the idea of his head like being in a jar. When we go to Poison Ivy, this is another one that I'm not super strong in my opinion on it, but I do think that the new one is an upgrade. I like her hair more. I like how it seems a little more, I don't know, alien almost, and like the way that it's falling. It just looks like a housewife's normal hair, like a normal person's hair in the original show. I like that her skin is, a little paler and everything. If it's with her feeling not so much a part of the human world and everything. And the darker costume, I think, also just plays into that. It's an upgrade for sure. With Scarecrow, he's one of the only characters that kind of had a redesign during that original run. So he shows up at first. He's very kind of not scary, just like a bag over his head. But then you see him again later on in the show of the original Batman the Animated Series. And he's got that classic look, right, where it's got the hair coming down that's like the hay, and his underbite and the teeth. It's really good. And it's one that I would have thought like that's gonna be hard to top. Now this is probably the biggest change out of all of the characters, and I think it works because he actually seems scary, and the Scarecrow should be scary. He's like a zombified freak with a noose around his neck, and he's got super long hair, and he's big, and he's got this like cane that he whips around, and he's got a gun. Guns are scary. So an episode featuring this Scarecrow right here like traumatized me as a little kid, where you think that he's killed Batgirl and everything, and now you watch it like, oh, well, obviously it's all fake. But in the moment, I'm like, oh, dang, he just killed her. And that's a big thing when you're a kid, when you think a character that you enjoy just gets killed. But yeah, this is a great one. He is super memorable. It stands out to this day. I don't know why they haven't used this kind of a look more often. Mad Hatter is one where I did not really like the design of him as he was portrayed in the original show. I just don't really like Mad Hatter as a character that much. He's just kind of icky. And in my comic book stuff, a lot of the time, I'd rather stay away from the icky stuff. But he's just kind of gross. Of course, in the kids show, they don't do that. They just really lean in heavy to the Alice in Wonderland stuff. I think in the original show, he does look a lot more like the Mad Hatter from like the Disney Alice in Wonderland. I like how tiny he is in the new show, though. His teeth are brought down a little bit. They're very extreme in the original Batman, the animated series. And his tie is also ridiculous. So I think I'm going to say improvement, though I could go either way on this one. Bane gets an interesting transformation, right? Bane is supposed to look like a luchador. And I think he loses that in the redesign. He's like a weird BDSM kind of guy. Now he's got spiked collars on and everything, whereas he really does look like a wrestler in Batman the Animated Series. Also, again, I think we lose some of the parts of him that make him unique when we go to that redesign, and everybody's body type is very similar. He's not huge and jacked as much when you first see him. Like, he gets big and he's muscly, obviously, but like, he is just a big dude, and he stood out more as a big dude when everybody wasn't ginormous. Clayface is one of my favorites when it comes to Batman the Animated Series. Feet of Clay is, again, one of my top episodes. I love it. The music is super good. Ron Perlman is fantastic as Clayface, and his abilities and powers and everything are just really cool, and the animation is fantastic on it. In the redesign, he looks more like a rock monster to me. He looks more solid. I think his eyes are way less sinister than they were when they're like the yellow. And I think it's the fact that it's like flat edges. Like the flat edges look like rocks instead of like something more moldable. So on this one, I'm going to say it's a downgrade. Killer Croc is hard for me because I really do like a more lizard Killer Croc in general. That being said, I do love Batman the Animated Series Killer Croc with like the way his mouth is, how it's got like implied, like you can just see into his mouth and those big black spots there. He just looks so gross. In the redesign, they just make him look like a lizard guy more. They make him green instead of gray. His teeth, though sharp before, now are like way more just jaggedy. Is that a word? I don't know. He looks kind of scaly more too, instead of like bumpy. I can understand why that guy is named Killer Croc a lot more than the original one. But I just don't think I'm going to land there, which is crazy for me because I really just love a Killer Croc that actually looks like a crocodile. But here, the closer it gets to that crocodile, the less I like him. With Baby Doll, it's really easy for me to choose Batman the Animated Series over the new Batman Adventures. The new Batman Adventures, she feels like an angsty person with that makeup on, right, underneath her eyes. Whereas like she looks like what she's trying to portray in the other one, where it's a little girl. Like she looks like a little girl. It's a woman in this little girl's body. And I think in the hair also, we lose some of the charm of the character between the two as well. It doesn't look bouncy. Her hair looks bouncy in Batman the Animated Series, and it just looks bland in the new one. So, and we'll finish off with the Ventriloquist and Scarface. This one is easily a downgrade. Just look at him. Like, it's not even a question. Like, look at how sad they've made the ventriloquist in there, and it's not in like a fun way. His head is so oddly shaped compared to the original one. And then Scarface, they've done dirty as well. His scar is now just like a line on his face instead of it being like the different color and everything. He's lost his like cigarette, which is a downgrade too. At least he's still got his Tommy gun, but it's definitely a downgrade for me. Also, the white suit. Come on, bud. Like, no. And that's going to finish our look at those characters. I think walking into this, I was positive I was going to be like, Batman the Animated Series is better most of the time. But there were definitely some in there where I definitely see it as an improvement moving into that new show. I think it was definitely a benefit for them to make everything kind of be in line with Superman so people could cross over more, and ultimately leading us into the Justice League cartoon and Justice League Unlimited, which are fantastic and let you just see a million different characters. So what is your favorite redesign out of all of the characters? Who's your least favorite? Let me know if you have any ideas for future things to rank. I'm always looking for new ideas when it comes to videos. Thanks so much for stopping by. If you want to support the channel, you can do that by either liking or subscribing here, or if you really want to support the channel, you can go over to Patreon and support over there. Thanks to the people who do that already. Thank you so much for being here. Hope to see you again real soon. Until then, you take care. Bye.